Okay, we're continuing in the Kutimran Torah Daled, Simon Zain. V'achnasam she'elu ha'chayos ros chochmei teva, and the way to subjugate these evil wild animals, which are the wise people of science, like scientists. It's through the wise rabbi, or the wise man of the great wise man of Kedusha. Who he has the power to connect all of the desires, all of the things in the world to the Shor Sharatzon, to the root of the desire, which is Hashem's Ratzon. Where the Shor Sharatzon is a bechina of Istalkus Moshe, where Moshe went up into the source of like the source of Kedusha, the Shor Sharatzon. Kiyadua. This is a deep Kabbalistic concept where Moshe Rabbeinu went up into, and we're not going to get into it. Vehu b'chinas metzach haratzon, and this is the bechina of metzach haratzon, which the Rebbe is going to use this term from now on for the shor haratzon. B'chinas avaya al mitzchol haratzon. That it says about the tzitz that the Kohen Gadol wore. It says v'haya al mitzchol haratzon. It should be on his forehead. That the Kohen Gadol wore this metal band around his forehead, this plaque with Hashem's name on it, and he wore it on his forehead, and it was miratza on the korbanos. Certain korbanos that were brought, if they were brought betuma, then the tzitz, what the Kohen Gadol wore on his forehead, would make it so that Hashem would accept the korban, and that's called ritzui. Ritzui is when someone comes to accept something and give it and relate to it in a positive way, which is mainly what we're going to call Ratzon here. And we have to attach all of the desires that are in the whole world, and through this we subjugate the philosophy of the scientists that try to say that everything is because of scientific reasons. So here when the Rebbe is saying to connect everything to the Shor Sharatzon, all the Ritzonos, all the desires, to Shor Sharatzon, one thing to understand also from here, one thing we could understand, is that we have to understand that everything is Hashem's Ratzon. The fact that this table is shaped the way it is, and that the world is exactly the way it is Hashem's Ratzon. So what we have to do is, they're all pratistic Ratzonos, they're detailed Ritzonos. What we have to do is we have to attach all of this to Hashem, to the Shor Sharatzon, to know that everything that we see in the world, which is Hashem's Ratzon, is really, we have to attach that to Hashem, that Hashem is the one who wanted this here for whatever reason. So we have to know that every detailed thing is Hashem's Ratzon. Everything that we see is Hashem's Ratzon. And we should not ascribe completely scientific reasonings to why things are the way they are, or why things happen the way they happen. However, parallel to the root of everything, which we said is the Shor Sharatzon, the root of desire, root of ritzonos, of desires, we have Metzach HaNachash, which is the opposite, which is the root of the scientists. Because everything has a shorosh. And the root of the scientists is Metzach HaNachash. The literal translation is the forehead of the snake. We're going to explain what it means a little bit later. That just like we saw, the Kohen Gadol wears a metzach the tzitz on his forehead, which is miratza on the korbanos. So too, Goliath had mitzchas nechoshes araglav, which literally I think was maybe some kind of plaque or some kind of thing or some kind of protection that he had made out of nechoshes, a certain type of metal, not copper, maybe brass. I think it was brass, nechoshes, on his feet. Nemar b'Goliath, Hainu b'chinas metzach hanachash, and this is referring to the metzach hanachash that he was attached to. Hanaki Golius hayakofer, because Golius was a kofir. V'hayarotze lahar shekol asibos hakol al pi hatev, and he wanted to show that everything, the reason why everything is because of science, because of nature. Everything is natural, and everything, he wanted to say, comes out because of natural means. Chas v'shalom. Shekol zeh b'chinas metzach hanachash, and all of this is the metzach hanachash, saying that everything comes through scientific explanation and logical cause and effect. That is metzach hanachash. That is the forehead of the snake, and all the scientists base their investigations based on these principles and this assumption that everything is cause and effect scientifically, and it's very very small framework to work within. And this is the way that this is the basis for all their scientific investigations. If you ask any scientist, they would agree to that the basis of science is cause and effect. We learn the causes and the effects, and we're trying to understand the nature of things, the fundamental nature of the way things work. And this in itself is metzach hanachash. V'zeu raglov b'chinas sibos. And this is why we said by Goliath that he had a metzach hanachash on his feet, because regel is the inyan of reasons. And that means that the Goliath is trying to show that the reason for everything is scientific. The reason for it is cause and effect. And he's turning to scientific reasoning instead of turning to spiritual reasons. Like when we say the horrible disaster happens, we say there's a reason. Hashem is bringing this disaster in order to arouse the Jewish people to do tshuva. If you're going to say no, it's just because the plates underneath the earth they moved a little bit and some water got squished inside, and then when the plates moved back, so it made a big tsunami and killed a whole bunch of people. And it's just life. Okay, nuclear bomb, nuclear reactors, and all sorts of things. That's obviously just an effect. It's because the Japanese weren't so smart, and they put their nuclear reactors right next to the water. They weren't thinking, what might happen, or maybe they were and they didn't care. I don't know. But it's very natural, and that way of thinking is metzach hanachash. We have to look deeper. We have to go to the shorosh haratzon, and we have to know that Hashem's ratzon is the only ratzon that rules the world, and to connect everything to Hashem and say, we would have to say that Hashem wanted this. One reason may be, and one reason that is brought in the Gemara why tzaras happen is the tzaras about the goyim even is to arouse the Jewish people to do tshuva. And they should take a lesson. They should say, instead of Hashem really maybe wanted to hurt us because of our averos, and instead He hurt them, so to speak. And this is like a lesson for us to know that we should do tshuva, so we ourselves don't get hurt. This is the difference between metzach haratzon and metzach hanachash. Ki hu perush sham sheYaakov amar Lavan. Now this says Ve'varach Hashem oscha l'ragli b'sibosi, is Yaakov saying that Hashem blessed me because of you. Hashem blessed you l'ragli. This is Yaakov saying to Lavan, Hashem blessed you because of me. And he used the words, instead of saying because of me, he says, literally, the words means to my feet. And here the Rebbe is showing that the word, the ragli, or regel, refers to, or also means, reasons. Because of. Ki ken hu haperusham sheYaakov amar Lavan, and this is what Yaakov was saying to Lavan, Hashem Yisbarach ha'nesavev elav habracha ayodov v'sibaso. That Yaakov was saying to Lavan, that Hashem blessed Lavan because and for the reason of Yaakov. So we see that regel, or l'ragli, means because of me. Regel means because, or the reason that. Nimtza sheregel hu b'chinas sibus. So it comes out that regel is a b'china of sibus. Regel is compared to reasons. Actually, Yaakov told kol sibus b'Hashem Yisbarach. The only thing is that Yaakov, he connected all of the reasons. He connected the reason for everything to Hashem canal. And Goliath would connect all of the reasons to scientific. He would have connected everything to Metzach HaNachash, with the necessity of nature. He wanted to show that everything was necessarily had to happen like this because scientifically the world was in a certain state that had to cause this or that. And everything is scientifically provable and scientifically necessary, and it was already predestined scientifically. That such thing, whatever things would happen, every reason has its own scientific source to it. And this is what it means that he had a metzach nechoshes, which is metzach hanachash. Nechoshes is also osios nachash on his feet, meaning he connected all of the reasons to this metzach hanachash, to chiyuv hateva, to the necessity of nature. We'll find metzach hanachash before, and sometimes metzach hanachash takes effect actively, completely in effect, meaning through a specific person, that he himself draws from the metzach hanachash, from the source, from the forehead of the snake, so to speak, which is the root for all of chachmei teva. There sometimes is a person in the world that draws his sustenance, his energy from this horrible, evil place, which is called metzach hanachash, and he is therefore then the source, so to speak, of the chachmei teva, the chachmas teva, the root of all the scientists. He's like it would sound like he would be the head scientist, but my personal feeling would be like these are the people that they're more philosophical in their scientism. They may be also scientists, but they go in very deeply to explain and try to show that the whole purpose of the world, and that everything in the world is scientific. So they're not dealing with a specific scientific problem, which even a Jew is. Again, we're allowed to study science to a certain extent, according to halacha. The Rebbe says that a person should not do it, and it's dangerous until you get to a very high madriga and ruchnius. But a person, according to halacha, certainly for a person studying, maybe for studying practical things, it would be easier to justify. But there are the Sanhedrin have to know science to a certain extent. They have to in order to paskin. Poskim have to know science. It could be many different people for different reasons also might have to know science for certain types of sciences, but that all can be completely okay. We're allowed to study. We're not allowed to believe in our faith. We're not to believe that everything, and that ultimately things are scientific and things happen because of scientific reasons. That's not ultimately. That's not the way the world works. But there may be one person, or there may be a number of people, that are attached to what we call metzach hanachash, and they're going out and trying to show the world, not scientific facts necessarily, because that is the one level down, which is connected to these chayos ros, the evil animals, these wild animals, are scientists. They're trying to show specific things are natural, but the source of their science, the metzach hanachash, is someone who's attached to the metzach hanachash is trying to show everybody that the world itself runs through completely natural means. Not trying to show one specific case, that nuclear reactors or whatever it is, to try to understand how they work scientifically, but they're trying to show that everything in the world runs scientifically. And that's there are some people like that. They study in universities. I've heard of for all sorts of big epikurim that try to teach the world literally. They fight a battle against kedusha. They fight a battle against people who believe in Hashem and believe in something above nature. And there are a number of these people, very evil people, and they would be the type that would seem to be, if they got to this level, that they would be attaching themselves to the metzach hanachash, to the sharash chachmei teva, the root of scientists. And he's showing through his, they try to show through their wisdom, through their intelligence, that everything in the whole world is natural. Chas v'shalom. V'yesh shenichnas b'chinas metzach hanachash, shorosh chochmas hateva, b'soch hachacham shebekdusha. And sometimes this b'chin of metzach hanachash gets in even to the chacham, to a wise person in kedusha, a talmid chacham. V'chochmas zu shel metzach hanachash mascheles lilikanas imo me'iyun le'iyun. And this chachma of metzach hanachash starts going with him from one type of learning to another, until it goes into a very deep level in his learning, in his understanding of kedusha, until it wants to put a blemish in the root of the ratzon, in the fundamental basis of our belief, lik43, and to be kofar there in our belief that Hashem is the complete reason for everything, and Hashem is the one that completely rules everything. Chas v'shalom, ki'ilu ein ratzon klal chas v'shalom, as if there is no ratzon, there is no obligate, there is no that the ratzon of Hashem is not the one that rules over the whole world and rules over everything.